and they say bipartisanship is dead. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm David Reddish. This is Occupy Democrats. The 119th Congress this week got off to an interesting start and a rare moment of political agreement. Go figure. This happens as political polarization is at an all-time high in the United States. There's an old saying, the best way to unite people is to give them a common enemy. So just who is so hated by both Democrats and Republicans that they decided to finally come together? Stay with us to find out. Political polarization has become a buzzword in the 21st century. This sort of began in the George W. Bush years. Republicans would do anything to support George W. Bush, no matter what the cost. They managed to let him go to war in Iraq despite shoddy intelligence, and certain Republican lawmakers expressing skepticism as to his motivations. They also followed his lead in cutting taxes, despite two wars, one in Iraq, one in Afghanistan, that destroyed President Clinton's legacy of a balanced budget, which was something that the Republicans had pushed for decades. But Republicans managed to compromise their principles in the name of political unity, tribalism. That political polarization continued into the Obama years with the rise of Mitch McConnell. We saw this with the Affordable Care Act. Obama modeled the Affordable Care Act on Romney Care, the healthcare initiative put forward by then-Governor Mitt Romney in Massachusetts. Even though it was a Republican plan, every Republican member of the Senate managed to vote against it, in part because of Mitch McConnell's edict that Republicans oppose anything Barack Obama supported. This also happened with cap and trade, an environmental policy that was originally put forward by the Republican Party in 2009. Lindsey Graham championed it in the Senate, and the Koch brothers spent millions of dollars to garner public support for it. In 2010, Barack Obama endorsed cap and trade, which automatically meant every Republican had to oppose it, even those who had supported it before. Ultimately, cap and trade wouldn't become law, and Barack Obama had to resort to executive orders and the Environmental Protection Agency to institute some new air quality protections. This political polarization continued into the Biden years. Take, for example, the Build Back Better Act. The infrastructure bill would have brought millions of dollars in much-needed funds to Republican districts. Nevertheless, Republican lawmakers opposed the bill. The only reason? It had been proposed by a Democrat. Political polarization hit a new level with the Donald Trump years. We saw this on a whole host of issues. For example, the Supreme Court. Even though a number of Republican lawmakers said privately that they questioned the qualifications of Amy Coney Barrett or Brett Kavanaugh to the court, they voted in favor of confirmation. The reason? A Republican president supported them. It was far more important to show party loyalty than it was to find qualified people to sit on the Supreme Court. Those are lifetime appointments, remember. We also saw this with Donald Trump's impeachments, both of them. Even though lawmakers, including Mitch McConnell himself, said that Trump needed to be removed from office and that he committed high crimes and misdemeanors, they voted to acquit him. The reason? It was more important to show party loyalty than it was loyalty to the Constitution of the United States. That's how politically divided the country has become. But that changed this week with the 119th Congress, at least momentarily.
The clerk is in receipt of a letter from the Honorable Matt Gaetz of the state of Florida, indicating that he will not serve in the House in the 119th Congress. Without objection, the letters relating to his resignation will be printed in the record.
That's right, folks. Matt Gaetz finally did the impossible. He brought Republicans and Democrats together. It turns out that Republicans and Democrats hate Matt Gaetz more than they actually hate each other. I don't know if that's an encouraging sign for the future, but hey, at least it shows Republicans can have good taste from time to time. Gaetz, of course, has endured a host of allegations during his tenure in Congress. Those range from everything from statutory rape to sex trafficking, drug abuse, extortion, and even obstruction of justice. Gaetz, for his part, has always denied any wrongdoing.
Just a short while ago, the House Ethics Committee formally and publicly released this long investigative report totaling over 40 pages, and the committee saying it found substantial evidence that former Congressman Matt Gaetz paid women for sex back in 2017, that he had sex with a 17-year-old girl over a 3-year period from 2017 to 2019. He used drugs like cocaine and ecstasy, and the committee even saying that it found substantial evidence that the former congressman sought to impede or obstruct this investigation. As I said, this investigative report stretches over 40 pages. The investigation dates back to 2021, and the committee saying that it obtained around 14,000 different documents and conducted around 24 witness interviews. The committee saying it also found, quote, substantial evidence that Gaetz broke state laws relating to sexual misconduct while in office, and he violated House rules and other standards of conduct prohibiting prostitution and illicit drug use. The House Ethics Committee, like I said, began this investigation back in 2021, and it became even more notable after President-elect Donald Trump nominated Gaetz to lead the Department of Justice beginning next year. Gaetz pulled out of the nomination process as the committee debated whether or not to release this report.
Don't you just love those old-fashioned Republican family values? Matt Gaetz issued a letter to Congress announcing he would not be returning, but we kind of already knew that. The letter is what inspired the ovation by Democrats and Republicans in the Congress. We can only hope to see this kind of bipartisanship going forward, especially as the Donald Trump administration prepares to make its second bid in the White House. Already, a number of other Trump nominees have come under wide criticism for ethics violations, not being qualified for the jobs they're nominated for, or both. Wouldn't it be nice if Republicans could actually cling to one last shred of dignity just a little bit longer? We'll see. It's a brand new year and anything can happen. For Occupy Democrats, I'm David Reddish.